Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for being here for Deborah Kobylt Live. Wow, I have a great guest in studio today. Thank you so much, Ms. Shari Belafonte.
Thank you for asking me to come.
Joining us in studio. I am thrilled to have you. What did you tell me on the phone? You are the Jane of all trades.
Yeah.
Girl, you do it all,
much.
right?
I try to do it all.
You do, and you still do it all.
And I succeed some of the time. So
I didn't even know half the stuff that you did. I didn't realize you did voiceovers.
I do voiceovers.
I knew you as a model because that was when I first was introduced to you, and I thought, who is this stunningly beautiful woman? I really do remember that.
Years ago.
No, I'd say it's still the same.
Now I'm on the cover of AARP magazine.
But honey, at least you're on the cover of something. You know what I mean? It's like, why not?
Actually, I haven't gotten that cover yet. What's taking so long?
Stacey, let's get on that. Okay. No, but you've done so much, and currently you've got a lot going on, right?
I do this year. Yeah,
That's terrific.
I'm on the new Apple show.
That's really cool. Tell us about
with
that.
Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, Steve Carrell, Mugugu Mbatha-Raw, Belle Pauly, Mark Duplass. There's a plethora of people. Fabulous. It's called The Morning Show. And they just announced it's going to be November 1st.
It is going to be November.
They just announced it in the trades this morning.
You heard it here first, everybody.
November 1st.
The Morning Show with Shari Belafonte will be starting on November 1st. So please, on Apple TV, mark that.
Right.
That's terrific.
Now, it really is kind of with me because everybody goes, oh, you're starring on this? No. I'm number 31 on the call sheet, so I'm really kind of in that list. But I play the stage manager of the morning show.
So you're in charge of it all.
So in some circles I go, I run the show.
Don't you always? Wow, tell me about that show. You've got a lot going on. Let's stick with this one for a minute.
Okay.
You had a great time with Jen Aniston. You were telling me.
She's like the nicest girl in the world. I swear. I met her once or twice over the years, when they were doing Friends and at different charity events and there was always that distance that you have, but you always are friendly with celebrities because you're all sort of in the same boat that way.
It is true.
But she really is the sweetest girl on the planet. She's a great actress. I mean, not just comedy, because everybody knows her in rom-coms. But I first saw her in a movie called Cake years ago that was a drama. And I recommend if anybody hasn't seen this, I recommend everybody see this
What's that
movie.
about again?
She's a woman who's got chronic pain. So she's on pain meds, and it's a drama. It's pretty special, and this is a dramedy. The show that we're on now. So there's drama, there's comedy, but it's just an ideal, fabulous cast. I can't wait to see
who plays what. Now you've got Reese Witherspoon.
I can't go into
Steve Carrell. What are they?
I was going to say basically, and it's not the actual characters, but basically, Jennifer is kind of like a Katie Couric character, and Steve Carell is kind of like a Matt Lauer character, and Reese Witherspoon is the girl that's South. She's from the South, and she's a little go-getting journalist that gets swept into the entire craziness of being on the morning show.
You know what I'm loving? How people always talk about aging in Hollywood, and it seems as though all these people over 40 years old are getting the really juicy roles, right?
It's about time, don't you think?
Without a doubt.
But have you seen Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon? They still look like they're 12 years old.
I think they're lying about their age, actually. I think they're making themselves older than they really are. I really do.
Well, that would make them six. Her 6 when she was on.
Yeah.
Because I just looked at this. Friends was on like 20 years ago.
I know. My kids watching reruns all the time.
Right.
All the time. They love it. It's a timeless show.
Yeah. There's a lot of shows.
And Reese is everywhere.
She's fabulous. She's fabulous.
Smart woman.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that set. Can I? I know that you've been picked up again, right? To do 10 more.
They got an order for 2 seasons, and each season's 10 shows. So we've done the first season. 10 shows are in the can. They'll start running November 1st, and then the next 10 I think we go back to work in March. January, February, March, sometime in there.
What kind of boss are you? What kind of stage manager, whatever, are you on the show?
Basically, I count.
You count.
What we just did. And we're back in 5, 4. And then
hello.
And then
we're back. Right. Well, without those stage managers, though, you don't know what you're doing. Without Kurt here counting me down, I'm like, I'll just stare at the camera all day.
That's it.
That's fantastic. I can't wait for that. Yeah. I'm really excited about that.
It's a good show.
You got all kinds of stuff going on. So
that I'm also on a Tyler Perry show, but I can't talk about it.
Don't you love?
I got a gag order.
I know.
I got a gag order. They go, you can't talk about it until we release it. So.
Okay, but let's look at it this way. It's It's a Tyler Perry show.
It's a Tyler Perry show.
Need we say more?
I'm in
And Shari
6 episodes.
Belafonte is involved.
I'm in one of those.
You know, Tyler Perry, Shari Belafonte. Look for it when she can tell us something about it.
I'll be back.
You know what I loved you on? Because I was at the
Pan African Film Festival.
I loved that film festival a lot.
It was a fun film festival, yeah. And the movie that I was in that was called Plastic Daydream. It's a short, and it's about a woman who has dysmorphia. And dysmorphia is when you're not pleased with the way you look, so you are compelled and obsessed with having plastic surgery.
I thought you were phenomenal in that.
Thank you.
Big kudos to you in that. My jaw was dropping when I saw you in that. You played that so well.
I know people who have that, and my stepmother was one of the people that constantly was having her face done. And
Did it look better? Does it usually?
The first couple of times there's little things that maybe enhance a youthful look, but then after a while it gets a little. No, it doesn't look great.
You don't even know if it's going to come out right. I have friends who are gorgeous, and they go to the best people, and they come out looking lopsided. I'm thinking, I'd just rather be old and wrinkling up the way I am.
I was going to say, well, that's the case for me, too. The only thing I ever did, because we talked about this a little bit before, was I had implants. I had mammoplasty back when I was in my 20s, late 20s.
What did you say your breasts looked like?
I said, well, at the time, they looked like fried eggs before.
I love that. Your boobs look like little fried eggs with a little yolk.
Because somebody said, are they the size of eggs? And it's a joke. I remember it was a joke. They said, are they the size of eggs? And I said, oh, fried.
That means shriveled,
yeah, like kind of like small, like
little
little tiny like things. And then I had these great tits for the longest time. And then one of the implants burst right before I was shooting Playboy magazine.
Oh, what timing?
Such timing. And we went ahead and shot it anyway. And then as soon as Playboy was done, I took them out.
You shot it anyway? I mean, wasn't that painful? What, you had one side kind of
No,
lopsided?
what happened was I had implants that were called double lumens, and at the time they were silicone implants that were inside of a saline bag. So the saline bag was the part that burst, and so my right side was a little bit smaller than my left side, but you didn't really see if we, stood a certain way. Greg Gorman was the photographer, who's a friend of mine, and Greg was, like, all right, stand a little this way and kind of do that, and don't raise one arm, because I would raise my arms up and one breast would come up and the other one would kind of hang down here. And I was like, okay, we won't do that.
Oh, no. Did you know this? And by you, I mean Hugh. You know what was going on or no?
Oh, with the implants? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Like
I felt it. No, because I felt the salt water. I felt the stream kind of inside in between.
That would scare the hell out of me.
Well, that's why I went to the doctor and I said, what's going on? So I had an MRI, and he said, all right, well, the outer bag burst. The inner bag is still intact, but, I recommend you get them replaced. And
so you got them replaced?
No, I got them out.
You got nothing in there now. It's back to your fried eggs.
Just now, because of the implants having been in there, there's like extra stuff that's pushed out.
Oh,
it's
really?
Just kind of. I say to people, don't make me laugh, because when my nipples get hard, then they scratch the top of my thighs.
Oh, no.
But now, there's great bras. You can get. Victoria's Secret has come to the.
You just get the good old push-up. I told you, I'm someone who was born with plenty, and I often look at
my
people.
mother had tits. My sister had tits. Me, no.
Yeah, my mom kind of did. My sister, not really. And I'm thinking, man, people who go in to get this thing done, they're hard to carry around. Your own.
Heavy.
And I'm thinking, honey, all right, good
luck.
No,
they were heavy. That's why after 20 years of having them, I was like, okay, really, I'm done. I was out of the ingenue thing anyway, so there was no reason. And what's funny is I looked at I have a lot of magazine covers. I've had quite a few over the years, and there was a Shape magazine that I did before, and there was one that I did after. And it was about a year later I did, and I was going, oh my God, look at the size of those things.
Did you like them?
Yeah, they looked great. But if in all honesty, if I had known then what I know now, I would not have done it, because I lost sensation in my breasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were a major G spot for me. And it was like suddenly I went, what?
And
so
all of a sudden it's
the
like,
nerve
no,
things didn't grow back.
Go over there. Yeah. So
yeah, the nerve endings. So and surgery does that. Because I had a torn stomach muscle that had to be repaired. So there was an incision that was made from hip bone to hip bone. They went in. They had to repair that. And now my stomach's always numb.
Oh.
I still have that wash bag. I still have 4 of my 6-pack. There's still 4 of them.
Did they do like a tummy tuck thing?
No. He just had to stitch. I guess it had herniated, so they had to push it back in and then stitch up the part. It wasn't.
I have a hernia. I wouldn't even let them go in and touch it. I'm just always pushing it back in.
Oh yeah. No,
there will come a day where I'm going to have to do something. I'm a bit phobic when it comes to surgeries. I actually need a couple things done. My knee, I'm like, let me just keep.
I had my knee worked on and it didn't get better. Yeah, I thought we'd been.
Yeah, you did, but
and
there was
I
a
had
meniscus.
lateral meniscal tear.
That's nothing.
Well,
I did that too
the point
last
is
year.
It still hurts, and I had surgery, and it never got better. It actually got worse.
I was going to say, I actually think it promotes more
arthritis.
I think so
too.
Because that's what happened to me last year. I was marathoning like crazy, right, Kurt? I'd be coming in here with my medals and holding them up. I just did LA. I just did New York. I just did this. Pop goes my meniscus, and now I can barely. Now I'm hobbling in here. Right. It kind of sucks. It's like a big part of my life.
I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I used to be a jock, and now I'm a couch potato.
Really? Well, you don't look like a couch potato, darling.
I'll sit up straighter.
Another thing you're doing a lot. Look at all those magazine covers. Do we have them up? Oh my God! How many magazine covers were you on? See,
Nina Blanchard, who was my agent, said that I was over 300.
Really?
Yeah, I've got about 90 hanging in my house.
Vogue,
but that was also Europe because I had a little life in
where
Germany.
it is. It's Vogue. I don't care which Vogue.
No. I'm saying I had some German magazine covers and Japanese magazine covers that I never saw, but people, a lot of trash rag magazine covers. Those all qualified in the magazine cover.
But what a beautiful face! And I remember seeing you on so many of these covers.
Oh, I don't even have that Jet magazine. Can I have that one afterwards?
I will give you the photo of the Jet magazine.
You've got that one I have.
We got stuff on you that you don't even have on you.
I'm sure.
What about?
There's a lot of people that have stuff on me that I don't have.
We'll just save that. And again, I remember looking at you and thinking, what is she, ethnicity-wise? Because we said you identify as
a woman of color.
Yeah, which is multicultural.
Yeah.
Because you are what? You did your DNA test, right?
I did. Well, the first DNA test that I did, which was a major genome test, this is before Ancestry and 23andMe and all of them came out, and it came back 365 different things. And I was joking with my sister saying, all right, the only thing we're not on this list is Chinese, and second from the bottom was Mongolian. All right, okay.
Man, your people were traveling around.
They did get around.
My mother just stayed in one area.
My mother was Haudenosaunee, so it's part of the Iroquois line. She was Native American. Her father was black and Cherokee, and her mother was Haudenosaunee, and I believe white, because I think I later told you I got one that said I'm 50.1% Irish, Scottish, English, and that was the first time I'd ever heard that. Now I knew my dad's side was Irish, Scottish, English. Belafonte's actually Dutch.
It sounds
His father was a Portuguese fisherman, and in all these years I have teased him a couple of times, going, you made this living as a black guy. It's like, really, Harry?
Dude, you're a Portuguese fisherman is what you on.
Portuguese fisherman with a Dutch last name.
Wow. But it sounds Italian. Go figure.
Belafonte,
because I'm Italian.
I told you that story, too, about golf, right? Going in to play golf.
Yeah. Oh, please tell people that story. This is one of my favorites. Please listen to this. Go ahead.
This is one of the, there's a woman by the name of Candace Bone, who's my producing partner on a couple of projects that I'm working on, and she ran the Women in Film Golf Tournament every year, and always did it at Malibu. This particular year, Malibu was shutting down, so she said, I need to find another great golf course. She said, it's got to be a good one. It can't be like some little rinky-dinky place, and I have to have a Saturday or Sunday. And I said, well, you're narrowing the field down. And she said, and so book a twosome, and we'll go play so I can see these. Because you play golf. I went, okay. At the time, I had my blonde dreadlocks in, and they were kind of to my shoulder. She calls me up right before, and I call a couple of places that are in a more Republican district, I will say. A more conservative district. I shouldn't say Republican, a more conservative district.
But you used your name.
And I called up and I said, hi, this is Shari Belafonte. I'd love to get a twosome tomorrow or, next week. And
that sounds rather forward.
They say, yes, that's fine. I can get it, we can book a twosome for you. 7:10, okay? Yeah, 7:10's good. Then I called the day later because Candace said, no, there's going to be 2 more people joining us.
I need a foursome now, sir.
So I call up and I go, can I make that a foursome? Yes, that's okay. You can make a foursome. So on the day we showed up, it was Betty Thomas, who was on Hill Street Blues, who's a big, she's a chick. She's a guy chick. She's not. She doesn't go with chicks, but she's very gruff.
A big lady.
She's a lady that spits and
Oh, I love those kind of ladies.
She's a tough broad.
You should see my girls' nights out.
And
spitting and all.
Kat Dyson, who is a rather forbidding black woman who also had dreadlocks, and then Candace, which I forgot to mention, is also a black woman who has dreadlocks. And so the 4 of us showed up at this rather conservative golf place, and the guy looks at me and says, can I help you? And I went, yeah.
Security, quick.
I said, yes. I said, we have a 7:10 tea time. And he went, He said, Belafonte? And I said, yeah. And he said, I thought you were Italian. I said, no, that's the only thing I'm not. But, he was a little, the marshal kind of followed us around to make sure. There was a little question about whether or not we could play golf. And once they saw that we could play golf, they backed off. And we played there many times since then.
Since then. Now they're happy to have the four of you. Dreadlocks or not. No dreadlocks.
But I got Candace laughing. So she said, we have to do this we have to do a show. So we ended up taping a little thing called Chicks on the Links, CHIX.
Which is also one of your latest projects.
On YouTube.
Girl.
We have a couple of episodes. And I was joking with Martin Sheen about this because Martin's a friend of Candace's and mine. And Martin said, I love this idea. He said, I'll be your executive producer.
Oh!
So we've done 2 episodes. And
where are you shooting?
Reel. Everywhere. Any golf course. We have to book it. It's
any golf course that'll take them.
Any golf course that'll take us. And so far, we've been very lucky. Sherwood Lakes actually is our kind of home course.
Oh, I could see them being pretty cool over there.
Yeah, they're very cool.
They're great.
They're
over
very
there.
nice.
Beautiful golf course. Oh my gosh.
We're the small executive course. Let's put it in perspective.
Yeah,
so
but
they won't let us on the big course until they've seen us. All right, they're not trashing the place, so let them go.
Chicks on the Links.
Chicks on the Links.
And it's CHIX.
On the LINKS.
Hysterical.
We have a YouTube channel, and we're going to start, doing a couple more episodes.
Wow.
We did one episode with Martin and his friend David Moses, who's a wonderful actor, and we did one with Swayze, who's a great hip hop guy, and his friend model. Her name is Maggie Vitelli, and she's an angel, Victoria's Secret pink model. So. We've got one extreme to the other.
I was going to say,
Bradley,
you got to have a little of everything.
Yeah, we have
your models.
Kathleen Bradley, who was the first black. She was the Price is Right girl back in the 70s.
Oh, I remember her.
Yeah, we run the gamut from extreme. We have comedians.
I'll come out.
Yeah, come out. Do you play?
You know what? I am not a good golfer.
That's the best part.
My boobs get in the way.
I'm
telling you right now. That and volleyball. I'm always like,
Kiki Melendez, who's a wonderful comedian.
Yeah.
She never played golf before. And I said, do you play golf? You want to come out? And she went, oh my God. She goes, my husband's Scottish. He's always wanted me to play. I've never played. She said, let's do it. I said, you can use, she said, but I'll be terrible. I said, that's the perfect part. That's what people want to see.
Then honey, of course I'll
come. She came out in a hot pink tight shirt and cut off jeans and high top, Converse All-Stars. And I went, oh my God, we have to shoot this for sure.
Oh, I'll come in something. Or I'll drive the cart. That would be, could you imagine? I'd be like doing little circles. No, that's pretty incredible.
So we did that. We're putting that together. Hopefully that'll.
And this is all simultaneous now. It's like, wow, you are just hot as can be.
I'm busy. I'm a happy girl being busy.
It's hard in this business, right? There are times that you're so busy. And there are times that there's big lulls, right? How do you handle the lulls?
I do other things. I got creative. I've always been creative. I've always painted. I've always done tie-dye. I'm a photographer. My grandmother gave me my first camera when I was 4 years old because I was attention deficit hyperactive. And she's like, we got to do something.
You got to do something with these people. I got into skating because they're like, please, I'm begging you, put her in anything.
Right. So I was in my entire high school, I was in the dark room, basically. I just stayed in the dark room and always anticipated that I would be behind the camera when I graduated from Carnegie. I actually went to Carnegie Mellon and got a degree in production and ended up on camera kind of by accident. And so I shoot stills from my friends' movies sometimes. I have a couple of gallery shows. I'm having one that's going to be in San Diego.
When?
October 8th. It's MOPA, the Women's Museum. We're going to do
Wait, so it's simultaneous when you're appearing over at the museum.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. The Women's Museum of California. Shout out to Stacey Blanchet, who also arranged for this beautiful interview, actually. She's become a real friend of mine. What an interesting person she is.
She's great.
She's got this great collection of people that she loves to connect. And
she does. I just had a great lunch with a friend of hers yesterday, Anthony Quinn's wife, Valentina Quinn.
Oh, Valentina.
Not Anthony, sorry, Francesco, who passed away.
Yes, sadly.
And she's doing a Native American, she's doing a wonderful Native American documentary. And
Valentina's become a friend on Derek Gore's the artist. I mean, Stacey, but her people are very interesting.
Yeah.
They're not sort of the regular sort of milquetoast people floating through Hollywood.
She doesn't have
No.
I think she kind of fluffs those off. They're kind of milquetoast. She's like, I'm done with you. I have no patience for you.
Yeah, no, I love her. So go ahead. So you're at the Women's Museum.
Going to be at the
on
Women's
October
Museum
8th. I'm going to really try and get down there.
That would be great.
I would. That'd be a lot of fun. And you've got an exhibit of your photography there.
I'm putting it together right now. I don't know which ones they're going to show. They're actually not going to show the photos. They're going to show them. I'm giving a hard jump drive to them.
Yeah.
And so they'll show 2 or 3 of my different shows.
Oh, behind you.
I've had
I
one.
see.
Right. I've had one that was called Italia, which is all black and white and sepia tone things that were actually done on film, as opposed to digital. And then one that's been a pet project of mine called Mythostheres, which is it's this journey of this little boy with his cyber babysitter. So that's one show. And then I have postcards from Cuba. I have
when were you in Cuba?
I've been to Cuba a few times. Harry was very good friends with Fidel Castro. So I went to Cuba the first time about 40 years ago.
That's when we first
went.
went.
And then my dad did a show for HBO. It was called Sing Your Song. It was a documentary about him. And right before they put that on, that was about maybe 5 years ago. So right before we went to Cuba, he said, It's funny because the first time he told me we're going to go to Cuba, I had to surrender my passport. We had to wait, I think it was about 9 months.
Wait, how old were you?
I was in my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. And I had to surrender the passport, had to wait 9 months. We ended up going to Canada and had to wait like a couple of weeks in Canada before we could finally somehow get to Cuba. I think it was by way of Jamaica.
So you Mexico. Really went the cool way.
So that was the first time we went. And then this time.
No, wait, stop. Oh. What did he do there? Like
he was doing, he taped a show.
That's what I mean. Yeah. He taped a show.
He brought his whole.
Fidel himself?
No, it was for BBC or no, it was for Canadian Broadcasting, CBC.
Wow.
And we were there for 3 weeks, almost a month, traveling all around in Cuba. We had a private MiG jet that took this, our dad's singers, and it was the family, and it was all the grandkids. There was a group of us, probably about 35 of us.
Are you kidding me?
And
everybody?
That was then.
Wow.
So that's probably why it probably also took so long to get that together. But
you think?
But then now, it was 35 years later, my dad calls me up and says, I need you to go to Cuba with me. And I went, in my head I'm going, where am I going to be in 3 months or 6 months? I said, when? This was on a Thursday.
And why? Why did he want you to go there?
Because I knew. He said, I want you to follow me around with a camera and shoot my meeting with Fidel. And I said, okay, when? And Dad was in his.
You got to do what you got to do for your parents.
80s at this point. So my husband even said, you've got to do this, And I went, yeah, I know, but when, Dad?
Talk about your family vacation.
Thinking, how do you plan this far in advance? And he said, Monday. I went, but Dad, it's Sunday. And I said, but Dad, it's Friday right now. And he said, yeah, just fax your, just send me a copy of your passport.
Isn't that the way in this business?
And we flew right out of Miami.
I got to tell you,
there's nonstop flights from Miami to Cuba now.
Oh,
and that was 5 years ago.
I think, 6
years,
that's when I
years
think
ago.
I first went to Cuba. Was it 5 years, 4 years? I don't even remember.
Right.
I loved it. I really was studying the history. I loved being out in the countryside and seeing how so many of the people live. And then they took us to this over this long bridge into this area where they had these resorts. Did you get to go there?
We stayed in one of the state houses.
Oh, sorry. Okay, lovely. Well, I went to a lovely resort.
With a private chef, I might add.
A private chef. Well, I should have gone with you. And I thought
Except,
mine was
oddly
rather
enough,
fancy. Yes.
because Fidel felt very strong that, all of us are the same.
Oh, yeah.
The food was just okay. It wasn't like having a 3-star chef.
Well,
the
mine
only
was a
spice
3-star
that
chef.
this guy ever cooked with was elephant garlic. And I don't know if you've ever had elephant garlic. It's not the best spice. So,
okay. Good
I
to
remember
know.
saying the next time I come, I'm going to bring you a box of spices.
It's a stunning country, but it always amazed me as I was going through there. And I knew that the guide that we also had a private guide, could only say what she could say. But I read between the lines clearly, and she didn't want to get herself in trouble. And it was clear that there was probably microphones or cameras on her too. But I thought, good God, what's going on here? It's so close to Miami, so close to freedom.
Right.
And they, even though they say that they have it, we all know they don't. And wow.
Oh, no, they don't. What was that?
They're not a free place at all still. Even though they tried to open it up, it didn't work.
Well, it's under a different rule now, so I won't get into that. Let's just go to the next part.
Yeah, but I loved it. I love the country.
The people are
the
amazing.
People are truly amazing. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
Someday, hope. Let's talk about Dad. I mean,
let's talk about Dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dad.
Harry. I call him Harry.
Harry. I call my parents that too. Tony and Edith.
Okay.
My friends are like, you what? I'm like, I don't know. They're Tony and Edith to me.
Right.
They're not. Of course, they just passed away not long ago. But it's like,
I'm sorry.
But so you call him Harry.
I do.
Your parents separated when your mom was pregnant.
With me, correct.
With
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Yeah. So what kind of time did
65
you?
years ago.
Yeah. What kind of? Wait, how many years ago?
I'll be 65 September 22nd.
This is impossible. This is what I'm talking about. You don't look that at all. I'm looking at you thinking, yeah, I guess that's your real age, but thinking maybe 45.
Oh, you're so nice.
No, I'm telling
But
the
no.
truth.
Parts of me are, but no. No.
Well, the boobs.
Yeah. The boobs.
But what was he like? What kind of relationship did you have with him if they separated when you were in the womb?
They separated. He was then with my stepmother for 54 years, I think. He had a son and a daughter from that marriage. My mother remarried a wonderful guy named Dr. Edward Craig Mazik, who was a fabulous doctor in Washington, D.C. She became a doctor. She was a doctor of child psychology and family therapy. She was also on the White House Commission for Native American Affairs and White House Commission for Aging and Youth. So her life was very complete. She wasn't a scorned woman that in the 50s would have been,
How did they meet, your parents?
Oh, she was the prom queen at Hampton University. She was a smart chick, and he was ROTC. He was in the Navy and was studying at Hampton and saw her and said, "Oh my God, I'm going to marry that woman," and he did.
Wow.
And my mother's mother was never happy about that because he said, I'm going to be an actor and a singer. And then, of course, again, in the 50s, really.
You're going to what?
Yeah, exactly.
How about a doctor and a lawyer?
So they had a tumultuous, I think, relationship for about 10 years because he got very involved, obviously, in civil rights and with Martin Luther King and with the Kennedys. And it was very uncomfortable for my mom to be in that position because there were a lot of threats that were made against Harry and in his lifestyle. So I think that helps make the divide, drive that wedge in between the two of them. And Julie at the time was very actively involved. She's a Jewish woman that was very actively involved and wanted to be a part of that scene. So, it was what it was. But I have to give credit to both sides. They made an effort. My stepfather, who's wonderful, like I said, and my mother made the effort to make sure that we had a relationship with our younger siblings. And
Right.
so when my dad would travel during the summer, you usually performing in far off places. We would go to Africa. We were in Europe. We were in Asia. He would always take the kids, and we'd have a nanny, and he'd set up some program. There would always be a guide that would take us around to the different monuments, and we always learned. When we were in Japan, I went to the tea ceremony, and we went to a geisha's house, and we went to, a geisha house. We went to, I saw the Kabuki theater, a short one. It was only 7.5 hours, because I was interested in theater at the time. So Harry made an effort to make sure that we had an education, even though we barely saw him. Because usually he was performing at night. We'd be, in the hotel room having dinner or doing whatever.
But he sure was doing the best he could as dad.
He did what he really could as, for who he was, because his focus always was on civil rights. It still is, till this day.
And you, go ahead.
And I was going to say, he's 92 and still out there, still fighting like a tooth.
He has to be.
Yeah.
He has to be. He was at the forefront. You knew Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. well, didn't you?
Yeah, he was Dad's best friend. They were best friends. Every time Martin was writing a speech for wherever he was going, he would come to Dad's apartment and, sort of in New York, because they lived, down in the South. So he would come to New York, have that week or whatever, and write it, and Harry would go over it with him, and they'd look through it, and they were best friends.
What was
and
that
Harry
like
was the
for
one
you?
that actually made the introduction for Martin to meet with Bobby and John F. Kennedy. And he was the one that said, Bobby, you got to do something about this. This is a legitimate reality. Civil rights is something you guys have to come to the plate with.
And civil rights and women's rights are you can never get. You can never stop that fight. You can't.
You can't.
You can't. Not today. Not tomorrow.
Today.
I was with someone.
Clearly
recently,
not today.
I was with someone recently, a male, and he goes, "Well, you guys have come a long way." I'm like, "We have. We're about maybe that far.
Right.
That's about it. Like this has to keep,
good. We still get to vote.
Look,
yeah.
I know, and it hasn't even been 100 years. Next year it will be. And boy, the fight they had. 2020.
2020. Okay.
Coming up.
All right.
99 years.
There you go.
But and the Women's Museum, in fact, is going to be doing quite a bit on that for the 100-year anniversary. But we're not far at all. Was it Melinda Gates the other day? I forgot how she put together this equation. She said that it will take over 250 years until we reach equality in this country.
Wow.
And I think she factored in everything, color and economic, situations and education. And I thought that was very interesting. I actually have to look deeper into what she was talking about. I follow her, and I think she's such a learned woman.
Right.
I really, really do.
Oh, I plan to be here and see that.
Yeah, what's that?
I said I plan to be here to see that.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
But back to
maybe not.
back to Martin Luther King Jr. What was that like for you when he?
Well, like I said, I wasn't really living with Harry all that much, so I occasionally.
But still, it was in the family.
It was in the family, but Harry was, like I said, Madiba, Nelson Mandela was a good friend, and Harry was very instrumental in getting him out of jail. And Actors Against Apartheid. I got to meet Princess Di at an event, and
what was she like?
And presidents in some African countries that maybe not so pleasant, but
because your father was like the ambassador. Everyone loved him.
I think he was.
Everyone loves him.
I think people respected him. I think that was the thing. I don't know that everybody loved him, but a lot of people loved him. Obviously, he had, he's huge.
He's a brilliant
following.
entertainer.
But there were some politicians that were not so happy with his.
Well, that was the time, and that was the day, and
that's still the case.
Still is, of course.
But, right.
Well, Nelson Mandela. Wow.
Nelson Mandela was amazing. Yeah.
To this day, I remember when he got out of jail and just immediately stepped forward and continued. And I thought, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you come out of jail after 27 years and just put it behind you and your mission goes forward?
My first trip to South Africa was in 94, 95. It's so funny because the movie Invictus that stars Matt Damon and his name went right out of my head. Morgan Freeman, who plays Madiba in the movie. When that movie came out, I was so excited and loved this movie. I watch it all the time. I was in South Africa during that rugby match. And at the time, because the South African broadcasting system was changing into black hands, everything was starting to shift a little bit. Black rule was taking over certain areas. And there was a delegation of black actors. It was Malcolm Jamal Warner and Blair Underwood, myself, a few others that went over.
I know Blair's a good guy.
To do this event. And I got to sit next to Madiba. It was fabulous at the event. But what was interesting is that this rugby match was coming up, and we had Israeli and white South African bodyguards, just like you see in the movie, that were a little. I sort of broke the ice with a couple of them going, this has got to be tough for you guys, right? And they were like, you don't understand how tough this is. He said, a couple of months ago, he said there was no way you'd see us protecting a bunch of black people, especially from the United States. It just wouldn't have been. He said, but now, it's shifting and we're all learning to live this new life. And at one point I went shopping in this mall, and this mall was empty. It was a beautiful mall. My sister and a couple of friends of mine that were with me on this trip, we went in, and the mall was relatively empty, but we did have a bodyguard that was with us. And I said, where is everybody? He said, they're all at this rugby game. And I said, they're all. He said, yeah, it's like it's
a religion.
He said, it's like your Super Bowl. He said, only our team, the Box, are in this final match. And I said, I'm thinking, oh, great. It's like the Redskins, which are my mom's team. And he said, no, you don't understand. Our team is in this match, and there's just no way they should have been in this match. They were just that bad. So you saw everybody, the salespeople, everybody was glued to the TVs. They were just watching this. If they couldn't be
Don't
at the
you
match,
love that? It's just united the whole country.
It totally united the whole country.
Yeah.
And like I said, now, a few years later, this movie's done, and I remember going, oh, yeah, I was in South Africa when this event was happening. It was really kind of special.
God, when you think about your life and the people you've met and the places you've visited.
I was in New York during 9/11 today.
Yeah.
Years ago. I
thought about that as I got up this morning, and I want to make sure that
I 15 blocks away.
You were close to
I was
downtown.
doing a radio. I was doing a satellite feed. To talk about lycopene.
What? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was talking about lycopene, which is in tomato sauce, because I was doing a special thing for the American Cancer Society. My dad at the time had just gotten over prostate cancer, so they asked me to come in and speak on their behalf about lycopene and how lycopene for men it'll help, negate the prostate cancer. And so we do these live, you do a live feed where you're sitting in a room sort of like this, but then you go live out to whoever.
No, I know the
is talking
satellite
to you.
stuff. It was like the big deal at the time.
Exactly.
It's like, wow.
So
we can do this?
I remember I had the IFB in my ear, and I'm hearing coming up next, and this was on Good Morning Birmingham. It was Birmingham.
Yeah, I know, because you went like every different little station around the country.
So
yeah.
I hear on my IFB, I hear But special report coming in, small aircraft is flown to the World Trade Center. And I went, oh, that doesn't sound promising, saying that's right down the street. But they kept talking about it and talking about it. So my time, because you're on a live show, so I knew the time was done. I was not going to be on the air, that I'd been preempted for that. So I had about 10 minutes before I had to go into the next one. And I went into the green room and I said to everybody, I said, turn on the TV, because they had the monitor on. I said, turn the TV on. And they went, what's going on? Why are you in here? And I said, there's a plane that crashed into the World Trade Center. And sure enough, we turned the TV on to a regular station. And while I was there, I called my husband, because Sam was here in L.A. and I was in New York.
Sam, you've been married to what, 30 years?
30 years December.
Sam Behrens.
Sam Behrens.
The Wrangler man. I remember when I had him on my show.
Live it to the limit in Wrangler.
Yeah, when I had him on my show, he goes, how'd you know that? I said, because I know everything, Sam.
So I called him and I said, we had East Coast feed on our TV. So I said, turn on the TV right now. So he's looking at the TV. And while we were standing there, we saw the second plane go into the second building.
And you knew.
And I went, I got to go, like that.
I know someone. We all know someone who was on his way into a meeting in the first building, and he was about to go up in the elevator. It was at the top, and he goes, "Oh, I forgot to get my coffee. I'm early." So he didn't go in the elevator, and he was, they have all these little coffee shops downstairs, and he's getting his coffee, and he went boom. He instinctively knew there was something just not right. Didn't feel right. He looked up, he saw something had happened, but at that time he didn't quite know what.
Sure.
But he had an instinct. He went even further south, took a ferry to New Jersey, got to Newark Airport. By then he knew something was going on, or wherever, rented a car and drove home to Florida. And I thought, wow, what a moment, because he would have been up in that elevator.
Right. Well, oddly, Harry was doing the Today Show that same time that I was doing the satellite feed, and he was supposed to go to the record store that was right at the base.
Tower?
It wasn't Tower. I think it wasn't Tower Records. I think it was J&L or J&L Records. There was another. It was a big record store that was somewhere at the base there, and he said, "Let's meet for breakfast before. I don't have to be there till 11." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm out of here. I think about 9:30. So we'll meet there like 10." He said, "Yeah, sounds perfect." And I remember a brief moment thinking, because this was the night before we were talking about me, a brief moment thinking, God, I've never been to that restaurant up at the top of the World Trade Center. I wonder if they're open for breakfast. But it was really one of those, not even...
fleeting moments in your head now.
Yeah, really just a fleeting moment. And then,
we all knew where
neither
we
of us
were.
ended up downtown.
I was on maternity leave from reporting, and I was sitting there with a little baby in my hands, and I turned on the news, and I thought, what? And then a second later, my husband got, a call, get into the station immediately, and I actually wanted to go. But I was sitting there nursing a baby, and I did not. But I wrote that this morning on my social media. Do you remember where you were? Everybody knows where they were.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to... I think even as the youngest... Anybody who's got a glimpse of a memory will remember that moment.
Yeah.
It was a moment that changed everybody. Not just here in the United States.
Absolutely.
Everywhere.
That moment in time changed the world, the whole globe, and the way we interact with one another. It's true. It's very, very true. Wow. How do you know Sharon Feldstein over at Your Mom Cares? Well, no, I did a promo, about you today, and she writes to me back. She goes, I know her. I love her. How do you know her? Because I'm going to give a shout out.
Know her? Jonah's my godson.
There you go. There you go.
Well, my godson, he's Jewish. How godson could he be? But
Jonah Hill.
I've known them. Yeah, Jonah Hill.
Okay, to talk about 6 degrees of separation. This show is about 3 degrees of separation.
That's right.
You kind of know.
Well, Richard, her husband, was my business manager for the longest time. I shot photography for them. She was my stylist forever.
Sharon.
Do
you not love her? I met with her and Patsy Noah.
So I've known them since they were, they were babies.
Isn't she?
And
amazing?
she would call me. It was so funny because she called me at one point. Because, all right, I swear to God, I don't know why people think I smoke pot, because I do. But she called me up and she said, "Do me a favor." She said, "Jonah's little league is playing today. Come over and shoot some pitches."
You have her down.
And I grabbed my picture. I grabbed my camera, and I went over. And Jonah was 6, 7, whatever little league is. It's T-ball, where you're hitting the ball.
I know. I got a kid who plays baseball.
And Jonah could not hit that ball to save him. And I kept taking pictures. And so finally she goes. So it was like a couple of years later. Same thing. It was like, come shoot him. He's playing baseball. And of course, now it was softball, and they were pitching it to him. He still couldn't hit. And she said, "I don't know what to do. Jonah wants to get into movies. He wants to be a stand-up comedian, get into movies, and Richie's like not having it. What do I do? What do I do?
Well, he's not going to play baseball.
That's
honey.
exactly what I said. I said,
like-
well, he's not going to be a pro baseball player, so you might as well give him a shot.
Oh, that's great.
But I was the nice Gentile girl that was on the dais with him. I held the Torah while he was doing his bar mitzvah.
Wow. What, boy.
And it was very funny because they put the thing over it, and then I carried it backwards. I said,
Oh, no.
Who knew? That's what I said, who knew?
you needed to rehearse.
That's right.
Yeah, no, they're lovely. They're coming on our show, I think, in 2 weeks. Patsy Noah for Your Mom Cares.
Ask Sharon. So is it true Shari Belafonte is, Jonah's godmother?
You know, hey, she put it out there first,
Yep.
so now she's getting it
There
right
you go.
back.
That's right.
Oh, maybe
Anyway, so I've known them for, years.
Incredible. We talked about
Years.
Sam a little bit. He's an esteemed actor, your husband.
My actor husband.
Nice
He's also
guy.
a director, but now he's also a drone. He's a drone operator. He owns and runs a drone company to shoot real estate, whatever you need.
Big business.
It's
That's
big business.
huge.
And
Good for him.
he's an actual. He was a pilot before. He was a licensed pilot, so he got his license to do this. And so that's what he's doing on the side in between acting gigs.
It's just
And that's the
such
thing, is because we talked about ageism, and that's the one thing. It's like as you get older, you need to reinvent yourself often, especially because you're not going to get the ingenue roles like I used to get, or the leading man roles that he used to get. And now we're doing other things.
I feel it is absolutely changing, and I really do, because look, people want to see the actors. They want to have people back after raising their kids, because we know stuff. We just do.
Right.
We're buying stuff. When you go on Instagram, there's all these great people. This one woman, she reached out to me. She goes, influencers of midlife. Thanks. But, I guess I'm somewhere in the middle of my life. And I thought it was great. And she's got all these people that advertise with her, everything from the cruise lines to whatever. And I'm like, yeah, we didn't just die off because we're over 40. Like,
Right.
we're here. We're spending our money. We're spending more money because we got more than the people who are 30 or 20.
Yeah. Well, some.
Some, not everybody.
Yeah, the .com kids. Yeah,
That's a totally different thing.
Right.
They've got their own jets. I'm not
Exactly.
competing with them.
Right.
I'm never going to get there.
Right.
But it's interesting. And you had your own Me Too movement going on, right? You were telling me that you don't give in. You're blacklisted a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
That happened to me because in the 80s and early 90s, my career, I was starting to really get some momentum off of Hotel, and then I did another series that I was the star of, and it was the first
Loved
time
you
I was
in Hotel. The gorgeous woman. To me, you were always this beautiful thing. That's how I looked at you. And talented. But,
thing. I was a thing. See, there's a
the
thing
girl
right there.
from New Jersey who always kind of wanted to act, I'd look at somebody like you and go, wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
But there were producers and people that I would go in. It was sort of like, this is your part. It's your part. You're the only person that can fit this part. That was one
However-
of the things that casting director, when I first got into the business, she even said to me, she's, you're not black, you're not white. She said, it's going to be tough to find a place for you in the industry. She said, but when there is a place for you, it's going to be only you. There's nobody that can compete with you.
Right.
At the time, because Halle Berry's 10 years younger than I am, as Jennifer Beals,
Jennifer
also
Beals.
younger than I am. So what happened was, I was getting some momentum, and suddenly I would get these meetings of producers and directors that wanted me to go a certain way to get the parts to
What do they
solidify
say?
the
Like,
part.
what do they say when you're sitting in the room, the door is closed? I've had
they'd
plenty of
sort
my
Well,
moments.
have a seat, and they'd come in and sort of like sit on the sofa next to you and kind of put their arm up on the sofa and kind of touch you a little bit, and you're going, what? And I'm not an idiot. I've been in the business all my life. It's not like I was some young thing from the Midwest that didn't have a clue.
Wow. Did you ever want to say, I'm going to call my dad?
No, there's no reason to. I
Took care of it yourself.
I took care of it myself. And I'm kind of a sailor, as you heard me say. So
yeah.
I had no problem saying F off.
F off. You could say it here. It's a podcast.
Okay, good. I had no problem saying fuck off. I'm not interested in this at all. I don't want the part that badly.
So what happened?
So oftentimes I've never got the part, needless to say, if that was the case. And then a couple of times I got nailed. I went to my agents. I said, look, this happened. And I said, I want to complain to somebody about this. It also happened a couple of times that I pitched ideas that, they passed on it. And then suddenly the idea was on in a movie, TV movies, or I went, wait, this was my idea. I said, we got to, I tried to argue. And my agents basically said, look, if you argue with these people at ABC, NBC, and CBS are not going to touch you.
God, what an
And
awful
I went-
time. It still goes on, but.
Still goes on.
But.
But now there's so many different things. Back in those days, Fox didn't even really exist.
It was Metro Media.
It was a Metro Media station. ABC, NBC, and CBS was
That
all we
was
had.
it.
That was it. now we've got so many avenues everybody wants.
Yeah, you can go anywhere. Apple TV, you go on
not
Netflix.
to mention you can shoot stuff on your iPhone or on your Galaxy phone, and you can submit it, and you have your own station on YouTube or whatever the other stations.
I find it so freeing.
It's freeing. The difficult part now is that the money is now sort of dispersed as well.
Big time.
When we used to be able to command certain big dollars, I mean, certain people still can. Thank you, Jennifer and Reese. They're
love them,
like them. But basically, it's like Top of Show is not what Top of Show used to be. Now, your work. I ended up doing Plastic Daydream, for instance. It's all these low SAG, ultra low budget projects, which are fun because you still get to exercise your chops.
You sure do, and
you get to. But if you do 4 or 5 of those in a row, suddenly your quote becomes $100 a day. And you're going, oh, wait a second, I can't live on $100 a day. I have to pay my housekeeper $100 a day just to watch the dogs.
Isn't it the truth? I swear to, that's the one big fallacy about being in this business. A lot of people think you've got so much money.
Yeah,
I had Jolie Fisher in here, I think it was last week, and she said people don't realize there are many, many years, she spoke quite openly, that I couldn't even, I was below the minimum at SAG-AFTRA, and I couldn't even get my health insurance.
People never I can't even tell you how many people that had happened to me.
Yeah,
we were on the B plan for a while, and then I got a little bit busy, so we were able to go back on the plan, but it was still costing an enormous amount of money. Then Sam, thank God, reached a certain peak in his career where he now was on Medicare. So we suddenly qualified for the A plan through him. I qualified on my medical insurance through him.
It's not
and now
easy.
I'm on Medicare, so
yeah,
I'll figure.
Yeah, I still can't look at you as somebody on Medicare. I'm like, well how did that happen?
I just started this month. Yeah, September.
Yeah.
Because this is my 65th year. How did that happen?
Fast. That's
Marguerite
how it happened.
gave birth to me 5 years ago. That's how it happened.
No, and you know what? Don't you feel, though, whatever it is you want to do, there ain't tons of time as you look down the tunnel. It's
but by the same regard, there's no fear about going ahead and trying it.
That's
anymore.
what I mean.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's like, hey, look, you don't have to
me.
like me. You don't even have to want me, but I'm going for it.
Right.
Right? There is
something
something
I'm going
freeing.
A little slower than I was before because of the knee issue.
I know. You know something? I'm waiting because I don't want to get my knees drilled at.
You know what I'm going to do?
The meniscus is very different.
We were just talking about acupuncture. I think I'm going to try acupuncture.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
But right now, if you actually need a replacement, it's rather barbaric.
Yeah. Well,
they go in there, they slice you open, they saw your bones, they drill into you. It's like, whoa. It's like something out of a medieval museum that they did back in the 1400s. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm holding off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just limping around.
The problem is you got to be sure that you're not tossing your back out of whack
I know.
because you're walking differently.
It's
I
weird.
stopped wearing heels when I was 40.
I stopped wearing heels when I was 20. I just am not a heels person.
I'm sneakers all the way. And Uggs. I'm like a sneaker Ugg girl.
I know. Birkenstocks, whatever. Oh, what a sight. Just don't look down there. Anyway, we got a lot going on here. I've so enjoyed having you on. Did we you've got another thing going on too. You've got a show that you're in discussions about
we have
black models.
Black models, yeah. It's right now. There's a couple of people that are looking at that, and I sort of see it because I'm a big fan of Ken Burns.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted. I was asked to direct it, and now, like I said, we're going to put a sizzle reel together and see whether or not it's something that can actually be shopped. But when I was first approached about it through Bolo Media, they said, what do you think about doing a black model thing? And I said, it's not just about pretty black models. I said, what we should do is a historic thing about blacks in modeling. They've been modeling for Rembrandt. We had the Moors that were painted in the older days, and Erte used them in the 20s, and Josephine Baker. That was like the sexy side, but then we also had the little black pickaninnies and the big Aunt Jemimas and the Uncle Bens that were that had that negative stereotype. So I said, let's do a chronological thing.
Don't forget Erte.
I said Erte.
Yeah,
you
mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loved his work.
Yeah.
He was really extraordinary. I loved his work. I was
beautiful.
A huge follower of his work.
And there's a lot of artists that were in the golden age that used blacks as models in portraiture and other things. But there's that time when we started really getting into marketing and advertising that blacks were first introduced in a very negative light. And I said, that's the stuff that we need to approach in this historical venture for that. So they went, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So hopefully we'll get that together and people will say, oh, no, I want to see that.
Do you have, because we only have a few more minutes, a big highlight to your career? When you look back, you go, wow, I did that. Was it hotel? I know you do so many voiceovers. That's another thing we didn't even touch on.
Yeah, I did voiceover. I do cartoons. I did ad campaigns. I was NASA, the voice for NASA. back when they were launching the space station and Boeing. That was back then, you know. And then
go ahead. I'll go. Is it more the people you've met and the places you've been, the work, or perhaps a compilation of all of it?
It's a compilation of all of it. Certainly, traveling with Harry was, a highlight because there were certainly people that were phenomenal that I got to meet. There was an education that came with being a kid of color that a lot of kids of color just didn't, the opportunities that a lot of kids of color, other than Sidney Poitier's kids, who, are friends of ours. I mean, we sort of grew up together with them.
But of course.
Because Sidney and Harry were best friends.
Everybody was best friends.
But Harry's got a lot of good friends.
Harry. Yeah,
Harry
he's got some good friends in the right places.
Exactly. But in all honesty, I had such a crush on Richard Avedon, who is the photographer. Had a big crush on him. And when he discovered me for Calvin Klein jeans and started shooting me for magazine covers, that was like my coming out party for myself, going,
I made it.
That I'm cute.
Oh.
I never thought I was pretty. I was a tomboy. And I remember the first time I sort of shot this, I was the first girl of color on Self magazine, and I was told the reason why I got that and a couple of these other magazines, they didn't know I was a girl of color. I was just tan. They had no idea I was Shari Belafonte's daughter. And I got told, they had no idea that you were black because you would never have made it on that cover had they known. I was like, oh, okay.
And look
and
at
I
what
ended up,
you,
and
wow.
I ended up, that wasn't Vogue's story. I mean, Vogue knew who I was by then, but I did end up getting 5 or 6 Vogue covers, which was, was a big thing. Beverly Johnson, who's a good friend of mine, also a golfer. She's a scratch golfer. She was the first black woman on Vogue magazine. So we joke, we help each other in different things. She was getting an award but couldn't be there, so I went and got the award for her, and then she did something for me because I couldn't be there. But we joke about the fact that while she says I have more Vogue covers, I said, well, okay, yeah, but you were the first one. She goes, yeah, okay, but you have. I said, yeah, but I only have 300 covers. You've got like 600 covers.
Just not fair.
So we're sisters that way.
Wow.
And then not to mention she's 6'20" and I'm 5'4". So I call myself the runt. I call myself the runt of the litter.
The beautiful and talented and very, very smart runt of the litter. No doubt about it.
But Calvin Klein jeans and Richard Avedon was like a cool turning point.
Wow. All right. So let's not forget the Women's Museum on October 8th. Please travel down there. If you're in LA, it's not far.
It's not San Diego. There's a train. You can take the train down.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a lot of fun. And then, of course, November 1st.
Stay tuned for the morning show on Apple TV.
That's going to be a big deal.
And then I think the Sisters, I'll tell you that. That's the name of the show. But that's all I can say. The Tyler Perry Show. That's all I can say. Sisters. Look for Sisters. Good for you. 65 years old and 65. You've never been so busy. Good for you, girl. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for having me.
If I forgot anything, I'll give you 30 seconds.
My Black Cowboy series, we're talking about that. There's like a lot of different things. I mean, there's like everything.
You did theater, you did Tamara here.
I did Tamara.
Tamara.
Right,
you
I played
Tamara.
Tamara Della Tamara Della Pica, who
I
was
didn't
an
love
artist.
that play.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
That's the thing where you went from like room to room.
Right.
I couldn't follow it. I had to go back a lot of times. You got
that's
your
what they wanted you. Yeah, you had your passport.
You got your passport stamped. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Somebody's
Right.
screaming in one building, getting shot at in the next. I got to come back.
I got another project on Carl Cox that I'm executive producing. Carl Cox was the leading DJ, house music DJ, black DJ, and he's still to this day. I mean, he's about my age. But he started in England, when he was in his 20s, and now he's still, till this day, 40 years later, the hottest ticket, and we have the rights to his story.
And 83 Days, weren't you just
83 Days, I'm now on board for 83 Days, which is a wonderful movie.
Ooh.
Everybody needs to see this short, but we're trying to get the funding to make sure that it becomes a feature film because
I love
it's
those
worth
guys.
It's about the 14-year-old boy who was electrocuted, black kid that was electrocuted and was innocent.
And accused of murdering 2 young white girls.
Right.
It is an incredible short, and yes, that needs to be made into a long-form film. Thank you so much for being here, Miss Shari Belafonte. I'm honored that you were in our studio.
Thank you all for
And everyone, please, let's not forget about 9/11 as we talked about today.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you have just a few moments just to think about it, about all those people, the first responders, the families that are left with this horrible tragedy that's always looming. We recover, but never really the same. Never.
It's not the
so, our prayers and thoughts out to all of you.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us on Deborah Kobylt Live. We're pretty much everywhere. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook Live. We're pretty much Spreaker. Just, I don't know, wherever you get your podcast. If you're listening or you're watching, you'll find us. Deborah Kobylt Live. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.